Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, January 4th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. As we do in every meeting, we are being recorded and transmitted via cable television. At the start of every meeting, we do the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Hope everybody has a happy new year. Got a couple things I wanted to touch on before I start the agenda. First, we had a sad event happen recently. Peter Brady, who was a lifelong resident of Linfield, a well-known attorney. He was a member of our finance committee. He was on the board when I was on the board. He passed recently, and I just wanted to pass along our condolences to his family and our sympathies. So, and I'm sure everybody else does the same. But Peter Brady was a great man, and I just wanted to recognize him tonight. So, our condolences to his family. Another subject I want to touch on tonight is we've had some requests recently about coming in front of the board and how do we get on an agenda. So the question that came about was for a topic that I didn't feel was proper in front of this board. And so starting on in our next meeting, which is January 25th, we're going to have a public comment agenda item on that next meeting. That way, public can come forward and bring a topic to us. Now, during a public comment session, we don't discuss it, we don't debate it, but if you have a topic you want to bring up that has to do with something that's going on in town, you can do that at that period. What brought this up is there is a subdivision going in on Apple Hill, and it's currently before the planning board. It's coming in a couple weeks in front of the Concom. We were asked to put it on the agenda for this evening to discuss it. I felt that was both improper and unethical of this board to be talking about that at this time. I don't think that there was any particular subject that came under the purview of this board. We didn't have any jurisdiction over it, and it was not something I felt should be on our agenda, so I did not put it on the agenda. Now, it is, there are several things that we do discuss on those topics. It could possibly be a zoning issue, but that's only after it's looked at through the other boards and through our zoning officer, and we would address it then if there was an issue. So that's why it's not on this agenda, and that's why we're going to open up that public comment section in the next meeting. All right.
Phil, I'd just like to thank you for that. So I also heard from a number of residents over the weekend, and I had agreed with them that they didn't have the opportunity or the chances to come before the Board of Selectmen and voice, whether it's this project or any issue in Linfield, come before us and address us. I strongly believe also with this issue, as I mentioned to the residents, that it doesn't fall under our jurisdiction, and our town council has strongly supported us on that. But I commend you for putting that public comment part of the agenda and including that, because it's very important to me. When I was on the school committee, to allow parents to always come before us and citizens and address us on any issue that they might care deeply about. We weren't always able to handle those issues, but it provided them the opportunity to voice their concerns, and it allowed us to send them in the right direction. So, Phil, I commend you for including that on the agenda. I think that's one thing I've been looking for since I've joined the Board of Selectmen. I'm happy we're going to have that on the agenda.
Thanks, Chris. And the other thing comes up, if a subject comes up in a public comment session and the board feels it's worthy of being on an agenda in the future, the board can vote at that time to put it on a future agenda if it's something that comes under our purview.
So I have a few things I want to say about this, since most of this has to do with my emails. First, I want to thank Phil for adding back onto the agenda the public comment item since it was you that took it off when you became chairperson. But more importantly, we received a request from very concerned citizens. I attended a planning board meeting, as many people did, listened to a lot of concerns. A week or two after the planning board meeting, I received an email, and I believe Chris was copied on that. I forget, Phil, if you were copied on that email as well. And we were asked if the Board of Selectmen would allow these people to come in and speak about whatever they wanted to speak about. And so when I read that, I followed up with the town administrator, Jim Boudreau, and I asked him to reach out to my fellow selectmen, much like Chris keeps asking me to do, reach out to my fellow selectmen via the town administrator, and I asked for support to put that on tonight's agenda. I had no idea that it was as brief as it's going to be this evening, and I thought that since people had a concern, they could come in, not that we could address anything, but let them come in to speak their piece. After all, they voted us into office. We're here to serve the people. The people are Linfield, so they deserve the right to come in and be heard. We may not be able to do anything because we may not be the right board for them to be addressing. However, they do deserve the right to come forward and speak to us. Well, I followed up with that. Unfortunately, Phil declined my request, and I never received a response from Chris. So to make sure that this issue was going to appear on a selectman agenda, I filed a complaint with the Attorney General today, so that we will have to address this issue. When people come to their Board of Selectmen, they should know they can come here with free will, with open mind, and be able to speak their piece. These people are just running rampant. They just need a little assistance, a little direction, and then they'll be focused and they'll address the appropriate board with the appropriate issues. And a lot of those issues probably are not at this board, if any at all. However, they still deserve the right to come here. So with that, I did file an open meeting law complaint, and it looks like that's the last item on our agenda for this evening. And I just want the people to know, as I have in many other areas of town, when they come forward and want to be heard, I'll be here to always support them and be their voice on this board, because they deserve to be heard in a public forum. So nothing I requested had anything to do with this board exercising any influence over any other board. That's absolutely not what my desire is. My desire is merely to let people come in and speak their piece, whatever that piece might be. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that on the September 25th agenda, that we add a discussion item regarding the 15 Apple Hill Lane construction.
Again, I will put the public comment session on there for that, if they want to bring it forward to public comment. I do not think it should be an agenda item for the Board of Selectmen. This is not something that we should be talking about until the boards that have also been elected by this town that do handle those topics have a chance to review those topics, weigh in on those. It's currently in front of the planning board. They have an open hearing on it, which they're going to continue this month. It's coming up in front of the Concom on the 19th of January. So we should not be undermining our other boards in town. It's not the job of the Board of Selectmen. It's unethical for us to do that, and it's improper for us to have that as an agenda item while that's being heard, unless there's an issue with zoning, and that comes in front of this board. At that time, if there's an issue that the planning board or our zoning officer wants to bring in front of us, we will certainly look at it as an agenda item. Until then, I will let them make comments next week or the next meeting to talk about this on a public comment session.
I spoke to a number of residents, as Tom said he did over the weekend, and I spoke to them. I shared the letter that Jim Boudreau had put together to update them on what we've done as a community, and the elected boards have handled this issue to date. They understood, every single one of those people that I spoke with, that this wasn't an issue for the Board of Selectmen. And certainly I don't want in any way have an issue come before the board, before certainly, well, we don't have any jurisdiction, and Tom Mullen, our legal counsel, has certainly has given us that response over the last couple of days, that this is not under our jurisdiction, but under the jurisdiction of other elected bodies in town. What I said to the people over the weekend is I did agree with them that they should have that opportunity to come before the Board of Selectmen, whether it's this issue or any issue, and address their concerns or support for anything that's in the community. I think that's a welcome opportunity for the Board of Selectmen to have. So as I said to them over the weekend, and I said to one of them today, that we'll have in that next meeting, which I think is very important to maintain on the Board of Selectmen, is that public comment, where those people can come before the Board of Selectmen and comment with their displeasure with the project and the process to date. There's no reason to put it on our agenda because we can't act on it, and as I said to many of them, I don't want to give them false hope that the Board of Selectmen can in any way intervene and do anything and put us, and also cause us legal consequences if it looks that we're providing any unnecessary, or what they might look at as influence on the process. I think it opens the community. As a Board of Selectmen, we've got to protect the community and the legal issues. And I think, Mr. Free, you could possibly speak to that. If we were to bring this before the Board of Selectmen, what that might do for the process and for the outcome of that process at this point. I don't know if we're going to have him speak to that at all.
Mr. Farrier, would you like to address the subject?
I agree with the process that it should not be heard before the Board of Selectmen at all. We do have elected boards, primarily the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission. Those boards are given the direct responsibility for examining this issue. And it's not a superficial examination. We spend hours going over these plans. We spend hours going over the rules and regulations. We work in concert with the Board of Public Works, with the town engineer. Everything is examined very carefully. And it is a process that is primarily ministerial. If the developer meets all the rules and regulations and complies with the law, that developer is entitled to build. You cannot stop it. This board, meaning the Planning Board, I'm co-chair, cannot stop it. The other board that has jurisdiction over this is the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission will look at this from a totally different perspective than the Planning Board. It will determine where the wetland delineations are going to be. Now, that could have a bearing on the Planning Board, because if the wetland delineations are set at certain boundaries, they may or may not be able to develop 2 house lots there as they want to. This is a long-term process. The town has 2 well-versed boards looking at it. We have experts, Linden Engineering, looking at it. We have the town engineer looking at it. This is something that is looked at very carefully. And the boards will do the best they possibly can. And I can guarantee you one thing, we will do the right thing, we will be fair, and we will not be influenced by any other board that has no jurisdiction over this whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrier. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
But you know what, John, you're spot on everything. That's exactly what my desire is. However, the point still remains, is they elected this board, and they want to these people want to come before this board to address us regarding whatever topics they have. And by limiting it to a public comment segment, we're not allowed to engage in any return questions. So I sort of feel like we got, although they're allowed to come in, the handcuffs are slapped on us because we're not allowed to maybe ask questions that may shed some additional light on the situation for all parties.
John, do you want to speak? Because I think that the fact that we could anyway question or answer questions to this piece, or any development in town, I think.
My preference would be that this board not entertain any discussion whatsoever about this issue. It's that simple. I don't want the appearance of any impropriety or any undue influence whatsoever. That's really what my concern is. I don't know what the issue is in terms of the open meeting law, but quite frankly, I would urge you to dismiss that I don't think it's going to get us anywhere.
Mhm.
I don't think it's going to accomplish anything of any good effect whatsoever. I don't think it's necessarily good for the town. I don't think it's good for this board, and I don't think it's good for the planning board. I think what we need to do is work in concert. The correct board should be hearing the correct issues. We are well-versed. The planning board is probably one of the most intellectually gifted boards going, if you take a look at the membership that I'm privileged to work with. They know what they are doing, they study it carefully, and they will give everyone a full hearing. Everyone who comes before that board is heard and will be heard. Everyone who comes before that board will be treated fairly, and everyone will be given a full voice. That's where it should be. Now, just turn this around a little bit. The planning board probably has a little bit more power and authority than you would imagine. Don't forget, we do the town's master plan. Now, in terms of the town's master plan, we could step on this board's toes very quickly by questioning everything that you do to determine how it fits in with our master plan. So if you want people who have been heard by this board showing up in front of the planning board and discussing issues, we could certainly entertain that as well. I don't think it's a good idea to muddy the waters and to break down the lines where they should be. There are specific categories of matters in this town that should be heard by specific boards. This board should not be involved in this whatsoever. And I've made that plain, I think, to everybody who has spoken to me. And I mean, almost everybody here has spoken to me about this. That's the position, and that's how strongly I feel about it. Should not be done.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Mrs. Campbell?
I think how this arises, that people in town just don't know.
Let's go to a mic so people
Sure.
can hear you at home.
Mr. Farrier didn't have to speak on the mic. Oh,
He was right next to him. He had one right next to him.
I thought my school teacher voice
You were
might
close
do
to
it.
him, yeah. Well, they heard you, John.
I think what happens is people in town don't know how to have a voice and which board to go to and how they can make their voice heard in a louder fashion when they feel they're not being heard. And I don't know any of the specifics. I haven't talked to any of the people, but I think that's what it arises from. I can remember being at a planning board meeting and a lady saying, I have been everywhere. I have been at town hall. And it was a planning board meeting. I have been to Wakefield. And one of the planning board members said, you haven't been to Pat Campbell? Maybe she'll help you. So I understand from way back, not understanding the boards. Maybe we need a cable TV show on the different boards and what they do. Like the personnel board, their newly elected board, what do they do? So I think that would be helpful. And also, Mr. Terranova, I think you said September 25th.
I'm sorry, I meant January 25th.
Okay.
2016.
Maybe by September 25th they would have been able to talk. I don't know.
Peck, I just
But
say
anyway.
that I agree with you. I think that a lot of
Yeah.
people in the community don't know the process like they should. I know they're busy, and it's nothing against anybody in the community, but they trust us to certainly act on these matters. That's why I think this comment piece with the Board of Selectmen is when we have comments, if someone's going to come to us about a development, we could speak to the town administrator and walk them through the process and help them with that and put them in the direction of the planning board and give them those answers. Like I said on the school committee, I mean, as you know, being a public educator yourself, a lot of people come before the school committee. We could handle like 1% of those issues, but the one thing we could do, because we were up here handling the operations of the school department or the district, was we could point them in the right direction and help them get those answers. So I hope this piece will bring, because I know that's what the people wanted when I talked to them in the Apple Hill area, is they just wanted to come before us and ask questions, voice concern, and have us put them in the right direction. And I think this will do it. I think the next meeting, that's a good positive step in the right direction. So I think it's a win-win. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to comment on your request or your comment that they need to know where to go. The town hall, if you talk to Bob Curtin or Jim Boudreau, our town administrator, they will certainly direct you to the exact person or board that you need to speak to on any issue in town. That's their job. They run the town on a day-to-day basis, and they will point you in the right direction on any matter. All right? So the first item tonight on our agenda.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John, thank you. First item is Andrew Lafferty, our DPW Director, is going to present his budget. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you. Excuse me for a minute. All right. Good evening, Chairman, board members. I'll be going over the operating budget based on the handout that I have, so I'm not sure which handout you guys are looking at.
We got the revised one, which is that the one you have? Yeah, we
Yes.
have that.
I can run through the summary page, and if there's further questions, if that's the way you want to approach it.
Yeah, just go right through it. The summary first, and maybe we can talk about some of the numbers in there.
All right.
All right.
So the initial DPW operating budget fiscal year 17 has a proposed increase of 4.77%, based on last year's fiscal year, or this current fiscal year. The Public Works Administration has a 0.45% increase. There's a couple calculations in there that were incorrect in last year's formula on the worksheet, which has been corrected. That accounts for part of the correction in that increase. There's a step increase for a one union employee in there. And then there was an additional correction for a missing allowance that was not in last year's worksheet. And that's where the 0.45% increase comes in. There is no increase in fuel or oil costs. Usage is consistent, and we expect rates to be at what they are, or hopefully even lower.
Why don't you go through the whole thing, and then we'll ask questions at the end. I think that's the best way to handle it, instead of interrupting every time you go through a couple lines.
Under highway, cemeteries, parks and trees, there's an overall 3.08% increase. Part of that increase corrects 3 union positions that were incorrectly categorized last year as a different grade. Those have been corrected based on prior agreements that were in place prior to myself starting. So essentially, the worksheet had the incorrect grade for those 3 positions. There is an increase in overtime to cover additional crews due to the larger amount of road work projects. We use the DPW crews to manage some of the road work projects. Because we had the increased road work last year, we relied on the overtime a little more heavily than in the past. There's some minor increases in training, vehicle maintenance, pothole repair, and sign costs. And there's also, this continues with the additional $500,000 in road construction, as was initially indicated by the board. One question we have put forward was the question of whether to move that over to the capital budget and take it out of the operating budget. Moving on to sidewalk construction and maintenance, there's a 0% increase in that. That is level funded at $25,000, I believe.
Yes, it was, 25.
Snow and ice, also level funded at $120,000. Salt prices did increase this year based on our contract. We're at the last year of our contract. We are at $45 a ton. That contract will be most likely rebid next year. Streetlights also level funded. We don't foresee Peabody or Reading Municipal Light costs changing there significantly. Rubbish collection and disposal sees a 2.76 increase. JRM is our trash hauling and recycling contractor. That contract increases by 2% this year to $379,444. The Covanta trash disposal contract is currently at $72 a ton. That agreement is up for renewal this year with a potential decrease in cost. That agreement currently is not finalized yet, so we are carrying the $72 a ton rate. Recycling overtime was increased by 25% to cover additional days opening, to see if we can maximize additional days at the recycle yard. Hazardous waste, household hazardous waste collection, we did increase that. We're looking to add a second day for the for this year, so to have 2 events, one in the spring and one in the fall. Spring event may be a combined event with one of the local communities, if we can make that work. If not, we may look at doing it internally for just the town of Linfield. Recycling expenses, there's a minimal increase in cost to remove and dispose of yard waste materials. We also expect possibly an increase in materials based on the change of policy if that goes through regarding commercial vehicles. White goods curbside collection is essentially level funded. School maintenance and buses, or school building maintenance and buses, excuse me. There's a union step increase for 1 employee. One of the bigger items on that is a request for a new maintenance position / electrician. We have quite a bit of electrical work within the town, both within the facilities and out in the streets. We want to look at possibly bringing that in-house with a licensed electrician that can also perform maintenance issues. The current facilities maintenance crew is well understaffed. They are busy every day, and they're falling behind in some of the work orders. But we believe that adding an electrician in there and having that flexibility would increase our ability to do much more in-house. An increase in the electrical utility. We believe this year will run short again, about $25,000. So once again, we've increased that. We believe that's partially due to the fields. The busing account is runs short again this year. Historically looking, the last 6 years it's run short. The last 3 years it's run 150K short, 155,000 short, and 182 short. This year we'll be running about 150,000 short. So in this budget we've looked to correct that shortage to prevent having to request a transfer in the following year. This is based on the current busing usage right now. If the school sees an increase in students, or a decrease for that matter, that will obviously impact the current budget. As of right now, I haven't been told of any significant increase in student population or need for buses. In addition to that, our busing contract does expire in June, so we'll be putting that out. That also may impact the cost of busing. There's no sense on whether that's going to be increased or remain level funded. All other items within the school are level funded. Town buildings maintenance sees a 0.44% increase. That covers one increase for 1 union employee, and an increase in overtime for custodians. In the changing of positions 2 years ago, we consolidated 2 part-time positions to 1 full-time position. Because of that, we see a greater need to cover vacation time, and that's what pushed the overtime up, to cover those vacation times when one of those individuals is out. That covers the overall portion of the budget, pending your questions.
Well, thank you, Andy. I do have several questions about some of these bigger items that I picked out. The The first one I want to address is you talk about the funds that we've appropriated for your road work and moving them to your capital budget. And I understand that, because I think that's where it should have gone in the first place. I thought it should have been capital, even at town meeting last year. As a capital item, I believe you want to do that so you can roll it over if you don't use it. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct, and it's not just if we don't use it, it also allows us to roll it over as we start to look at larger projects.
Right, so they go multi-year, or,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
And what's the current status of that account and the work that you're trying to get done?
So we had an overall budget of 1.1 million, including Chapter 90 and all town funds. We have expended all but about 260,000, which remains to be used. Currently, Perry Ave and Windsor both are in the process. They will be, once April kicks in, well, once it's paving season again, they'll be finally paved, because currently they're in binder with some minor work left to do out there. So the majority of that money is essentially committed to those two projects.
Okay, so the remainder of the funds that you have between the funds that we appropriated plus your Chapter 90 funds will be all spent within the fiscal year? Was that your?
Correct. The remaining funds currently sit in Chapter 90. The town funds technically have already been
Yeah,
expended.
you expend those first,
Correct.
because you cannot roll them over, but you can roll over Chapter 90 funds.
Exactly.
Right, so, but you want to have that flexibility even with the town funds, which I think makes sense.
Yes.
It also makes sense that at the next appropriation that we look at should be in next October, to see where you are at that point, and if we want to add funds to your budget for the road work we're trying to get done. Because if you start with these funds that you currently have, it's still a pretty aggressive road work schedule for next year, I would imagine also.
Right. So part of the problem, well, one of the benefits of rolling it into capital is currently the remaining balance of 260 and change is somewhat committed already. So technically, we can't really start any more work until either July 1, when this budget gets approved, if that fund is there, or the state drops the Chapter 90 funding, which is April, May, June. It's all over the map.
Right.
So we lose the first 3 or 4 months, possibly, and then we fight with 351 communities to get the paving contractors back.
Right.
Whereas if we have a capital revolving probably not the right word, a capital fund that allows us to roll every year, we can get a jump on it as we roll that money forward.
Right, right. But you're going to use this up as we are now?
It's currently been committed, yes.
Right, right. So,
Any
okay.
savings we make is, whatever we save in the end won't be used, but it's currently committed in the engineering estimate.
Yeah, because I would think what we'd want to do is see how next summer rolls out for work, and then look at it again in the October account to see if we want to supplement it, if there's enough availability, let's say, of contractors. Because isn't that one of your bigger restrictions?
It is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors involved.
Yeah.
Everybody's fighting for the same people. I mean, it's timing, it's crews, it's everything.
Yeah. So how many roads did you get done during this season?
How many roads? 9 roads.
9 roads, that's great.
Two of them are binder.
Well, I got to applaud you and your department for getting that done, because that was tremendous. And
There's a lot of work.
I was glad to see that you were able to organize and get that amount of work done with the budget that you had, and with the restrictions on how many contractors might be available. I'm certainly familiar with how loaded they get during the summertime and the fall.
Right, and part of the benefit of having a capital program and having that set in that situation allows us to do a little better planning and start, when we start looking at some of these bigger projects, they wouldn't necessarily all be done in-house, because as they get larger, it just becomes not a good plan for us to try and manage everything in-house. So whether, we start looking at larger road projects, whether we're rolling in some engineering assistance or an engineering firm to help facilitate some of those larger projects.
Great, I appreciate that. As far as the, going down to the rubbish collection disposal, we're talking about a $3 a ton savings once that new contract is signed, and that's what we expect to get. Well, wouldn't the combined savings in just that one line pretty much pay for the other additional items you're looking for under that section? Or somewhere in the ballpark?
I assume you're referring to the disposal for the Covanta
The
agreement?
Covanta agreement would, if we got that, that'd be about a $15,000 savings, a little more than that.
It could be,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, and that's what we're looking at.
Currently, that agreement's not finalized, so
But that could potentially pay for the increased costs that we're gonna experience there.
it could possibly, yes.
Yeah, okay. And when will we know that?
I'd like to say in the next month or so.
Next month or so? Okay, so we'll know long before
Yeah,
we have to
one-
make a final decision on it.
One of the other factors is our waste is somewhat increasing, so
Mhm.
we're trying to look at recycling options to reduce some of that cost. So, over the next year, I think it's kind of something we want to see about plans or programs that are out there, whether it's through JRM or Covanta, to start to reduce some of our waste and see if that cost can be brought further down.
Now, the recycling overtime days you're talking about, are those the additional days in December primarily, or what days we talking about?
Those would be the additional days in December initially, and then if we look to do anything further on other weekends. So currently we only open on weekends on Saturday, on Sundays in November. If there's a intent to open on Sundays outside of November, that's a significant higher cost because of the union agreement for
Mhm.
double time and a half.
Okay, and then you also have the hazardous waste, if you want to add a second day during the year for that, that's about an $8,000 difference. Is there that much of a demand that you've seen in the one day, or has it been requested to have it biannually?
We had the largest number of participants this year. In addition to we get a large amount of calls during the course of the year, all year long, looking for household hazardous waste disposal.
Mhm.
Everything from, lead paint or oil-based paint to, batteries and so forth. So what we want to do is look at a couple options, whether we pair with another community to maybe share the cost rather than do a full cost by the town of Linfield itself, or try and combine resources at some point.
Yeah, that makes sense if that's, if another community wants to do the same thing,
Correct.
other than having you stored in your garage for another year.
Or throw it in the side of the road
Yeah, so, yeah, or back in the trash.
where it ends up.
Now, the next, on the next time, you talk about a town electrician and the possibility of hiring somebody for a new position. The current electrical work, how is that handled?
It's a combination of, well, it's essentially contracted out. The majority of significant electrical work is done by an outside contractor. Small electrical work is done in-house, and we have a maintenance custodian, municipal custodian that's handled the streetlights over the last 30-plus years. He's not technically a licensed electrician, although he is knowledgeable in what he does. But with the amount of streetlights we handle and the amount of electrical issues we deal with in all the facilities, school and municipal buildings, we're seeing quite a bit of need for electricians.
Is there do you have an idea at this point what you paid for the contract electricians that you hired last year?
I don't have a roll-up. We don't technically have a contract with an electrician specifically. We hire multiple electricians.
On an as-need basis?
On an as-needed basis based on the type of electrical work that's out there. Some guys won't do streetlights, other guys will just do interior stuff. So we kind of have to bounce around.
Well, because the question obviously is, does it justify a full-time person? Does the
Correct.
cost of what we're paying now justify it? And I'm just talking about the cost side of it, not
Right.
necessarily the convenience of having somebody.
So, and part of the thought was we currently have 2 facilities maintenance personnel on staff,
Mhm.
and they deal with all the buildings in the whole town. Just in general, they're well behind on work orders. So the thought was to be able to bring in an additional maintenance facilities person, have them have an electrical background with electrician's license, and then whatever electrical work that needs to be done, we can address in addition to any additional maintenance work that individual would be assisting in that maintenance work. So it wouldn't be, they wouldn't necessarily have to have, we wouldn't necessarily have to have 40 hours of electrical work, but we sure have 40 hours of maintenance work.
Okay. And then you get into, we got a deficit in the electric utility account, and you said it's partially due to the fields. Have you gotten any reimbursement on the field lighting that we've charged fees for?
Negative,
Okay, so that hasn't even started rolling out yet.
correct.
Yeah, because I know there is some reimbursement coming from the rec commission. I'm still, I assume you're still working on the final contract or the final agreement between the two?
There is a need to work the maintenance agreement, yes.
Yeah, okay. I know that's still a work in process, so.
Yes.
I would imagine some of this could come from where we charge fees. Obviously, it wouldn't come from rec if it's just for our own use, because we don't charge fees for our high school to use the lights.
Right.
Right, okay. The other part, you talk about and now maybe Jim will know a little about this. Is there a structural deficit in our busing account? If it's a recurring deficit, is it a structural deficit that we've done on purpose, or why is it?
I don't know if it was done on purpose, but the last 2 years, we appropriated
The last 5 years.
Mhm.
14 and 15 anyway, going back, so for that reason, it's been under budgeted, and that's not something we want to keep doing. I don't know why it's been budgeted that way, but we're just taking the right approach in this budget, making sure that we fund the entire bus contract.
Right, there's no particular reason to do it like snow and ice or anything like that, so there's no reason to have a structural deficit? No, okay, all right. So we just had it that way. I mean, as far as buses go, you know, you have an increase into the maintenance contract, but aren't we handling far less bus maintenance than we used to? Obviously, you weren't here, before we, before we.
Increase in the maintenance contract, I misunderstand.
Well, you have school maintenance in buses. Is that bus maintenance, or is that the cost of the buses?
Bus maintenance is rolled into the school maintenance
That's
Right.
building maintenance.
category.
That's building
correct. It's
maintenance,
different-
right?
Different line item.
School
than-
building maintenance and buses, so I'm just getting in
Contract
whether or not it's something that should be going up, where we've taken on far less buses that we own compared to what we had in the past, but again, that was before you were on board.
I think Phil is referring to the shift between owning the buses and operating the buses
Correct.
versus leasing the buses and the drivers.
Right.
So I guess, what's the risk reward there? Did we make out or are we losing on that shift? Because sounds like we're losing then, if we're under budget each year.
No, the question is, did the bus maintenance itself go up, because it's a combined account? Has the bus maintenance gone up or down itself, where we've taken on less town-owned buses?
The bus, at least since I've been here, it's consistent.
It's consistent, okay.
We've, historically looking, the town has reduced buses. We are down to 5 functioning buses.
Right.
And a 6th that is now deadlined. So we are only maintaining 5 buses. The contract with North Suburban, obviously, they maintain their own buses.
Right.
So we are technically maintaining less buses at this point.
Right, that's what I was getting at, because it's a combined number, so I can't really see how it breaks out. But I would assume the bus maintenance itself, like you said, it's either consistent, because we've kept the same amount of buses. I don't know why it would go up unless we have an older fleet that we have to take care of now.
Bus repair is a separate line item than contract busing
Right.
line item is.
Right. Okay. But it stayed consistent.
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, well, I'll open this up to my board members. I touched on some of the items I'd like to talk about, so, Tom, you got some there?
Yeah. Okay. Well, great job with the preparation of the budget. It's
Thank you.
very comprehensive. I like all your topics, and you brought out all the changes that we should be looking at and considering. I did have a few issues. I'll try to go through this really quick.
Sure.
Some of it you may not be able to answer now, so I could just blast you an email tomorrow that you can respond to. The first is, I noticed that our fuel costs are not really going down, even though over the past few years, prices are down 50%. And I'm looking at what you actually spent, it's down significantly. Why are we level funding that.
All right, let me just see if I have any backup here.
Okay, I think you put in something that you're using 167,000 gallons.
Bear with me for a second. I think I have some paperwork for that.
Actually, the fuel consumption, 195,000 for fiscal year 16, 191,500 for 15, and 167 for fiscal year 14. So we've gone up about 20%.
Yeah, I don't have the, the current rates. I was just looking to see if I had the
I just
current
got my
rates.
notes over here. I can't find
Last
them
year
here.
at this time, we were paying approximately $2.67. Now we're paying $1.76 a gallon. So we've seen a decrease in $1.10.
But even before that, there was a significant drop, and we didn't realize any savings in our budget at that point. So now we've gone 2 cycles with no reduction. So I think that maybe we need to get a better look at that, unless we're accumulating more equipment that's using, and more trucks and vehicles that are using more fuel.
Right. No, usage is pretty much consistent over the last few years, so that hasn't changed significantly.
Okay, so maybe we can take a look at that, because we shouldn't be, I wouldn't think, even if we're increasing our consumption, there should be some sort of a reduction.
We could reduce it with whatever the board is comfortable with. I am not a petroleum speculator, so I can't really guess. The best I could do would be go off of what we had for the last couple of years' rates and go with that. So I mean, I defer to Jim and the board maybe for further thought on how we want to reduce that.
Okay, but that's something, I mean, you could look at the budget to see
I can see
what our
historically what
costs
we've
are, right?
paid.
The past few, maybe the past 2 or 3 years. Because
Right.
3 years ago, I think the fuel was a lot higher than what it was, and we've
Correct. So-
realized 2 years of substantial savings.
Right. So, right, but that's what I'm saying. If I look back at the historical usage, the historical cost, it's gonna still run high. So unless we wanna deviate from that,
Well, the cost is the cost. The budget is something different. What I'm
Right.
saying is you're budgeting an item that's in excess of the actual cost.
but I don't
Why
know what the
shouldn't-
cost is next year for fuel, so,
No one has a crystal ball. I'm not asking you to look into a crystal ball.
right, so.
What I'm saying is, based upon the past, that we should level fund with what we're actually spending.
It is level funded.
No, it's not. We're level budget funding. I'm talking about level funding to actual dollars.
Right, so when I look at the fuel usage, the fuel costs, I look back at the last 5 years and take an estimate of
Okay, here-
that rate.
Okay, here's a good example. The here's, fuel, $115,000 in the fiscal year 2015. Year-to-date 2016, we're at 37,000. You're asking for 186,000.
Right.
So for fiscal year 15, you only spent 115,000. You're over by $70,000. That's a good third higher than what it should be. So there must be some flexibility there to maybe make up for, say, for example, the shortfall with the buses. So maybe we need to reduce this budget item so that we can make way for the bus lack of funds.
Sure.
But this here, these are your numbers in the munis, right?
I'm not really sure what you're looking at, but yeah,
I'm looking at page 1 of the munis. I didn't even get beyond that,
all right.
under fuel.
So is that current usage, or is that,
Well, the
I don't know what-
2015 actual column says $115,196. Year-to-date 2016 actual, $37,035.42. And you're requesting budget item of $186,000. So assuming that gas prices didn't go down from 2015, which they have, you're $70,000 above the actual cost for 2015.
Yeah.
So you're saying?
Okay, so you understand what I'm trying to point out here?
Yeah, I understand what you're getting at. The basis for estimating the cost of fuel is based on the last 5 years gallons, what it costs per gallon. So if we can clearly go without that and just guess, I guess, because that's all I'd be doing is guessing. I don't know. I'm just going off the last 3 or 4 years worth of.
But the
Rates.
prices would have gone down for sure, because you have 2 years where the price of gas has gone down substantially. How
Right.
could you be asking 2 years in a row for 186,000? That's illogical.
Okay.
But he's taking, he's taking the
If there's
5
an
years,
equation that
though.
you're going through, then there's a problem with that equation.
Well, there
There's
isn't
got to-
because
But the
because-
fifth year's gone down, so it should bring it down.
Yeah.
I understand what he's saying, Andrew. If you're using a 5-year look back when the market's been so volatile and taking such a drop, not to
Right,
put
we could
words
look
in
at the
Tom's
last
mouth,
2
he's saying
years.
you need to compress that time to go on the more recent, what the price of gas is, put it in, for lack of a better term, a fudge factor, not knowing where gas is gonna go. But use that, say, the last 2 years where gas
Right.
has taken such a deep drop as opposed to 5 years because the market has changed so much. Would that be?
That's close, but even in spite of that, if you are using an equation that has a 5-year look back,
Yeah.
2 of those 5 years, there's been a substantial reduction in the cost of fuel. So if you're using a similar quantity of fuel, this line item should have decreased. There's no way it could be flat. It's only logical,
All right.
You
Yeah, we
understand-
can, well, I can definitely
right?
look at it.
So
and
we
see
can
how-
look more into that.
You
and-
understand that, Andrew? What he's saying is the most current year that you're looking at on your 5-year
Right,
look back
we most likely.
is less than the fifth year that just dropped off.
Substantial.
But we don't know that. We don't know exactly what it is, but it should,
Yeah,
by the
definitely.
history that we know, it should be a little less.
Got it.
Okay. Then I like the topic on the road work, because certainly we have a lot of roads that need repairs, and we need to keep funding it as much as possible to get our streets back into better condition. So I'm really happy that you, and your department was able to get so much accomplished. But, let's see, moving right on from there. I did have some other questions with the, do you know town-wide how many vehicles people take home and what the cost is of that commute?
No. I know how many people take home within DPW, but I don't know
Okay.
what the cost is.
How much is that? What number is that?
3.
Okay, so I wanted to revisit this, your request to go to a capital, making the road repair expense a capital budget item. One of my concerns is if we flip it into a capital item, that people might look at that with a little more flexibility. And given the condition of our roads and a lot of our sidewalks, that I see that more as an ongoing expense because we're so far behind. So if a change was made, I think I would be more comfortable having these funds in a revolver account so that you can carry forward anything that's unused. When I hear capital, the first thing I think about is a capital structure. We're gonna build something new. We're gonna gut the town hall, refurbish the whole thing. That's what I think in accounting terms. So is your transferring this line item to a capital item different than my understanding?
No, but I believe, and I guess I'd have to defer to Jim, it's my understanding a revolving account can only have $50,000 in it, but I don't know if that's still the case.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. A revolving account is an account that people pay money, the money goes in and we expend it out. This is
regular town expenditure, so a revolving fund wouldn't work on this. Different towns do it differently, whether you want to do paving as capital or not. Generally, a capital in a municipal setting is over $5,000 to $10,000 on a lifespan in excess of 5 years. So normally, computer stuff is not considered capital. A road could be considered capital. Normal, we did road paving as an outside article, as a separate article, and that way the highway superintendent could build up articles. And if we gave him $300,000 a year, he could wait a couple of years and go do that $1.2 million road project. So I would need to talk a little bit with Colleen about that. You could do it either way.
Okay.
But
This
what it
allows
comes
you-
down to, Tom, is discipline, that
Yeah.
you know that line, either in the budget or over here in the capital, is necessary to be maintained, and we're not gonna pick at that
Right.
because we're having a slow year or a down year revenue-wise. We need to have discipline to maintain
Right,
that.
exactly. Continuing on with the road maintenance, that's where we deal with the drainage problems as well, correct?
In some cases, yes.
Okay, so, when we had the rail trail issue on the agenda, we realized that even if the rail trail was to come to fruition, that was not gonna solve the water problems going between Perry Ave and 128 going along Main Street. Is that on your radar to resolve that water flow issue?
Well, it's not part of road construction, so.
Okay, so where is drainage dealt with? Is that dealt
Drainage
with
is
road
dealt with
repairs?
either we have a small number in the line item, operating budget, and then typically
Mostly
that's
to
handled as a capital project.
Capital?
Capital.
Okay, because I mean, something has to get done in that area because people are realizing higher and higher water levels. And the initial hope was that the rail trail would offer some semblance of relief. And it looks like even if that was to be realized, there's no relief regarding this drainage issue.
But they are related in that right now we can't touch it because we don't have any jurisdiction. It's owned by the MBTA.
Right.
Whereas if we have a lease agreement that we can work and maintain on it, then we might have the ability to go in and work on that. We've worked with Brad Jones's office, as you're aware, to try to get the MBTA to take some responsibility for this, and they're not going to touch it either. But if we go forward with the rail trail, then the town will sign a lease to maintain and upkeep that corridor. At that point, we can make the argument we're going to go in and fix the drainage. But right now, we can't touch it because it's not ours.
Okay, can you reach out to the MBTA to find out?
We have, through Brad's office, I'll do that again and get an
Okay,
update, but
great.
we have done that. Brad Jones has been very helpful on that and trying to get the T to look at it for us.
I want to thank you for looking into the Longbow Circle water issue. I know that it's not solved, but at least we took a giant step there with the engineer's report. Something I brought up a few years ago, actually, before you even came on board, was Madison Lane. There's a series of homeowners that since the middle school was reconstructed, refurbished, if you will, that they now have substantial flooding issues. And I think part of their road is down to no more tar, it's the crushed gravel or whatever that might be. We're hoping that you could take a look at the drainage there and the road repair on that Madison Lane. And I think you were looking at Canterbury Lane. You also looked at the, you're in the midst of that, right?
Correct, yeah, we're looking now at next year's road work candidates.
I would like for you to look into the cost of what we're spending with an electrician versus us hiring someone. I know it's, 66, I think you wrote $66,000 to hire an electrician, plus benefits, what have you. So
Right.
even if we just round it to say, I don't know, 88,000, what did we expend last year with the electrical services? And,
We can-
since
we can put that
electricians are as costly as doctors, I'm sure that there's gotta be a savings there.
I will put that together.
I had a question with the busing. Are the parents being charged to bus their children, or is it all a free ride?
I have no idea. That's a
Chris,
school.
would you happen to know that?
Well, I think that's, you might be speaking to the, once the bus has been set, those students that fall under the 2 miles or the 1.5 miles for certain students, there's a lottery that you can pay to get into.
Ah, okay.
That's
so-
what it is. But I don't know, the school committee, I don't know where they are on it this year.
Okay.
I think there was our way of helping those parents who live, like they were right on that 1.5 mile or 2 miles.
I don't
giving
think you
them
can
the
charge for
opportunity.
elementary school buses anyways. I don't think that's legal.
The planning of routes and students, that's all handled at the school, with the schools themselves.
When elementary picked up anyways.
No, but the ones beyond.
Yeah.
It's like right around, over 2 miles. Like if a family was like 2 miles and 10 feet, or was close to that line, they had the opportunity to go into a lottery.
I thought over two, that's more a school thing, but I thought over 2 miles you're required to provide a bus.
Yeah, well, it's different for each age group, so I'm just
Yeah.
throwing out ball, some numbers there. It's different for each age group, elementary, middle school, high school, the miles.
Do you know, have we, where are we with the maintenance plan for all of our buildings?
I don't, actually, that's one of the questions I would like to know also.
CFAC is supposed to have something for town meeting for that.
Excellent. One real weird question. What is a professional ergonomic stipend?
Something that somebody created quite a while back. Honestly, it's been in place for a while, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
It's in the clerical contract.
It's in,
Is that for a chair?
It is a line in the clerical contract that says professional ergonomic stipend, and then it has an amount next to it.
With the streetlights, I thought at one point we were talking about that we had 100, 200 streetlights that needed repair or replacement.
so there's a couple different styles of streetlights. Obviously, the town owns and maintains the lantern style streetlights you see in the neighborhoods. Those fall completely under the DPW. And then there's the regular streetlight, utility type streetlight, which is maintained by Reading Municipal or Peabody Light Department. We are in the process, I believe we have a 532 that we know of currently, lantern style lights. We're in the process of either repairing them, replacing heads, replacing the glass units, replacing the sensors, fixing the poles. There's a variety of different issues. Some don't work, some work all the time. I have a running list and a running person to go chase after them all the time. So yeah, it's a long-term maintenance project.
But you are addressing those 100, 200 lights that need to be replaced.
We're well, I don't know what the definition of 200 that need to be replaced is. There's a list of heads that need to be either repaired, rebuilt, or just replaced in general, and then there are posts that need to be either fixed or repaired. I don't know of any one light that's just a flat-out replacement. Most of them are just maintenance issues.
Okay, maybe I'll pull out my old notes on that and I can forward that to you. Then under school building custodian, there's $50,171 for community schools overtime that's being moved into the custodian expense.
Yeah, that's always been in place. That's more of a worksheet issue. So the worksheet which I inherited had community schools overtime broken out as a separate item. Apparently in the past, it was funded that way. But when I go to compare it to the line items within the actual budget, it's actually been consolidated with that same line item. So to make my worksheet more consistent with Munis and the line items that the town has, it's been rolled together. If you look at the bottom line, it doesn't change
Yeah, no, I saw
the
that.
number.
So you think that was done more or less to determine how profitable community schools is?
I think it's my understanding in the past it was done because it was so hard to put a number on the cost community schools has on the custodial staff, that they put together a number into the budget and use that to fund additional overtime.
Okay. Have you looked into any solar potential of putting solar panels on any of our buildings? Or if we can't put the solar panels on it, have you looked into outsourcing it, renting out the space to a for-profit entity that could then obtain the energy credits?
There was some initial discussion with both Reading Municipal and a couple third-party vendors about looking at some of the facilities. I had a couple conversations and emails back and forth. There was, at some point, there was supposed to be some follow-up from those companies to come back to us with some information. I have not heard anything back from them. I know we have some concerns with the roofing issue, as did they when they looked at how much space is not necessarily there when they start looking at it with the roof units and everything else. It's definitely something that would be worth pursuing in the future if a viable location is established.
Tom, if you recall, Colleen O'Brien addressed that when she came in and talked to the board, and they are supposed to be coming in sometime this year to meet with us to look at some of our facilities to see if they would be suitable. So they look at size, and then they take a quick look, how's it orientated? If they think has potential, then they'll bring in the engineers to actually look at the roof for bearing and load and all that other stuff.
But will she look at other for-profit agencies that would rent it from us?
They would look at it from their point of view.
Right.
Right.
So
That would-
that's only to sell energy back to them, which is still.
We would get a credit on, we would get the same type of credit on
us.
ours. We would have to do a bid process to do it the other way.
Okay.
I know some towns that have done that, it gets pretty convoluted. I probably almost want you to hire someone to do that, 'cause look at the SRECs and all that other stuff gets pretty convoluted, and I'm not. We did do one in Norwell where we bid it out and did it to the state, but the state provided us with a grant to hire the expert to do all the work.
Okay. And then my last question was, some of the accounts, the account combinations, just don't seem to be totally logical. For example, we get landscaping services with grounds electrical and grounds equipment and maintenance going into an equipment account. That's a newly formed combination.
Wait, can you?
That was, I have it all marked up on my old one here. Here. Let's go towards the end.
All right, I think you're referring to the school buildings. We consolidated some line items.
This has to do with, I'm under energy. Item 80. Okay, if you look at item 81 expenses, let's see, this the revised one? That one the revised. So if you look under 81 dash expenses.
Yep.
So we're putting into grounds equipment repair and maintenance, landscaping services,
Correct.
which I wouldn't think you'd want to put in with equipment.
So what we did, in order to kind of consolidate some of the vast amount of line items we had that were somewhat redundant, we had grounds maintenance, grounds electric, utility, landscaping services, grounds equipment rental, and irrigation repairs all combined into grounds maintenance, equipment repair.
But this is grounds equipment repair slash maintenance.
Maintenance, correct.
So that refers to equipment. The point I'm trying to make is that the heading in this chart of account, for
Right.
this particular account, doesn't seem to explain what's really being posted to it. And I think we had, matter of fact, this issue came up before. You and I had a little foray of emails where there were some combinations that had buses and with equipment maintenance and building maintenance. It's just those kinds of things shouldn't be blended. That doesn't make sense. Because how does the capital planning committee look back over the prior 4 or 5 years in Munis if they look at building repairs and we got bus repairs blended in there? It doesn't make sense. So we need to be careful how and what you're blending.
These 5 items are exclusively used for repairing maintaining the grounds at the schools.
Okay, so
That's
then,
what these exclusive items
so
are.
then call it grounds repair and maintenance.
So if I called an irrigation guy in and I called the landscaper in, it's the same item.
But you have, this is called grounds equipment repair and maintenance.
I
So
don't
that has to do
disagree
with
that it's not
equipment.
the greatest name,
So-
but it's
so
the-
let-
it's-
let-
it's the
all I'm
name I
saying is let's
inherited,
change it.
so-
So let's change it. Let's change it to what it should be, is all that I'm saying.
All right.
Okay, make it, grounds repair and maintenance.
Technically, it's ground maintenance is really what it.
Grounds maintenance says it is. At least so that the reader, who's ever gonna use this financial data in the future,
Right.
has an account heading that they can comfortably rely on the postings to that account are accurate.
Right.
Whereas if you have an account called, grounds, equipment and repair, and we have landscaping in there and other services, that, if I was reading that 2 years from now, I'm thinking that this is equipment. Meaning, like a lawnmower or possibly a, something to that effect, something you'd pull the lawnmower on, a trailer, something like that. I wouldn't be thinking that we're hiring landscapers to come in and do landscaping. That I wouldn't think I'd see in an equipment account. I'll also bring this up with the town accountant, because we should be having our meeting soon, right?
I was gonna talk to you about that on Friday.
So, and I know you'll be happy to hear this, but that's all the questions I have.
Just for the record, Bob and I took the over at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. I think a lot of my fellow selectmen asked many of the questions I had. Just quickly, what is the update on Longbow Circle and Ledge Road, and what is we are, because we've received a number of emails in those neighborhoods, and I'd like to update them, and I know my fellow selectmen would like to. What's the process right now?
Yeah, currently, within the capital budget, we'll be submitting for both of those projects to see which way the board and the town want to go as far as what approach we want to look at for doing work out there based on the estimated cost from the engineer's report. And that'll be, those are both well within the capital, not something we can fund under the operating budget.
Yeah. Okay. And when do they, if we were to fund them, what's the start date? I mean, we're even,
Well, it depends
On
on the
any of those
project.
projects.
There's a couple levels of how involved those projects are. Both of them, all of them will need some sort of engineering. They're
Yeah.
significant projects. They're not something that would be necessarily banged out in a month after we get the funding.
okay. All right, thank you.
Mrs. Campbell?
How many streets are you going to do next year? And how are the residents going to find out they're lucky enough to have their street done? Well, you have a,
Currently, we're reviewing the list. I don't have a number of streets. It's based on which ones meet the criteria and then the overall cost. Once we pin that list down, we'll make it available, both newspaper, website, through the town administrator's office and the board.
great. In regard to the school buses, I believe we had 11 buses before you came on board. We now have, well, it was 17 at the budget summit, because there were 11 that we leased, and there were 6 that we owned. 3 were being used, and the other 3 were not being used. And now one's gone. Did we sell it for money?
No, one's not going out. We have all 6.
Oh, you still have all 6?
Correct.
Oh, okay, I thought you said 5. Okay, so why do we have 3 that are not being used?
3 are used on an everyday basis. There's 3 others. One is deadlined, which is essentially it's off the road and does not meet inspection. And then the other 2 are backup buses for when the others need to go and repair.
Okay. Many of the buses are very sparsely filled. And that's something that a lot of people have noticed. So, and I know they consolidated bus stops a while ago so that it wasn't stopping at every home.
Yeah.
But now we have more buses than we did before, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yes. I would agree. The only problem is we manage the contract and the buses themselves and the bus drivers. School sets the routes, identifies what students go on what bus to what school, and determine whatever criteria the students ride the buses. As far as how full they are, I can't answer that. It's based on what they set for the routes.
Okay, because it is a big expense.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm also very concerned about seatbelts, something that I hear from grandparents and parents. And I did speak with you one time about this. There's apparently not seatbelts on buses for regular education students, only for those with special needs. Am I correct on that? And I know that with special needs, there are laws that require it. But I am very concerned. I remember about 30 years ago when I was in the National PTA Executive Board that we were pursuing this situation of no seatbelts for children. And what they said is they have high seat backs, so the children are compartmentalized. Now, that never really made me feel too good, because if the bus is going 35 miles an hour, the children's bodies are hitting the high seat back at 35 miles an hour. If they're out on the highway, like going to a hockey game somewhere or something, are they using school buses in that case?
They either use Linfield school buses or North Suburban's contracted buses.
Right, so that they look like school buses, right?
They're all school buses.
So they don't have seatbelts on. They wear seatbelts in passenger cars and trucks and every place else that the children go. If they're going, so now they're out on the highway. They're going 65 miles an hour. Their bodies, if they have an accident, are going to be hitting the seat backs at 65 miles an hour. So tell us about seatbelts. You know, this is something that parents and grandparents have spoken to me about. And are there buses that we can contract for, school buses, that have seatbelts? Because I would recommend that if it's possible.
Currently, I don't believe our contract stipulates that they have to provide seatbelts in all the buses. It could be a stipulation of the upcoming contract if that was something we wanted to look at. I don't know how that would impact the cost to the vendor to retrofit their buses. We currently require them to have buses within 5 years old. That in itself, we know, causes the cost of our buses possibly to go up, because we won't accept an older bus. The more stipulations we put on the vendor, the higher the cost of the contract.
So none of the leased buses, the companies already have seatbelts? They'd have to be retrofitted?
They're not required to have seatbelts. Whether they have them in them or not, I don't know.
There is no requirement for a seatbelt to have.
Pardon me?
There is no requirement in statute for a school bus to have seatbelts. It has been something that's been pending before the legislature since I worked there 20-plus years ago. But there is no requirement. Part of the reason I think it keeps getting defeated is the bus companies complain about the cost of retrofitting the buses or hiring new buses. I think it would be very expensive for us if there were even buses available to require that they have seatbelts. But it's something we could follow up with Brad Jones's office and see if it's still pending. I haven't talked to him about that and looked at it in a while,
And
but I know
Tom
it's been
McGee as
pending.
well, because I think he's transportation. I
Yep.
think he might be chairman.
Yeah, they've been bouncing around for a while, but it hasn't gone anywhere that I know of.
Well,
So,
I'll
but there
put
is
that-
no requirement right now that school buses have seatbelts.
Oh, I was afraid you'd say that. All right. That's it.
Any other questions for Andrew while we have him in the room with us here and can ask him the questions?
Budget related.
Andrew, thank you. Appreciate it
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next item for the agenda tonight is an update on the Kinder Morgan pipeline. Our town administrator has drafted a intervenor motion. Has this been sent along yet?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use the word drafted so much as copied.
Yeah, I didn't want to say plagiarized, so I mean, drafted sounds
Be
better.
my guest. Yes, it was posted last Thursday, so the town has filed their intervenor status, and Bob spent pretty much all afternoon on Thursday notifying everybody that's already filed their intervenor status that we filed our intervenor status.
So how many people responded back when you responded to them?
He did say, since it was Thursday afternoon, he did get multiple out of the office.
No one was in.
responses.
Yeah, no one was in.
I probably got at least a half dozen notifications today from communities that went on and
Yeah.
listed themselves as interveners. So the deadline is Wednesday, I believe, the 6th.
All right, I just want to read some excerpts, just so everybody has an idea of what was sent. It's, the title on it is Motion to Intervene of the Town of Linfield in Opposition to Northeast Energy Direct Pipeline. The town opposes the project because of the impacts to health, public safety, wells that supply drinking water to the town, interference with conservation land, close proximity to residential obtrusive noise. The town seeks party status to protest the proposed pipeline and in order to protect fully the interests of the people of the town. Now, under the description of impacts, it says the town will be directly harmed by the proposed project as follows. The proposed pipeline will run through several miles of the town, including sensitive water protection areas, conservation areas, and in close proximity to residential homes. The town is very concerned about the impacts to groundwater flow, supply, and quality, as well as air quality and noise. The proposed Linfield lateral will be routed through land owned by Linfield Center Water District, which provides public drinking water to approximately 1/2 of the town's residents. The land in question is a critical undeveloped watershed protection area surrounding many of the said water district's wells. Construction, installation, and operation of the right-of-way on this property, including ongoing pipeline maintenance, could do significant harm to the watershed. In addition, maintenance of the right-of-way, including possible application of herbicides and pesticides, could also have negative impacts on the town's public drinking water. In addition, a portion of the proposed pipeline will utilize an existing electrical right-of-way in the town. The proposed route would take the pipeline through approximately 30 residential properties, disrupting the land and lives of the owners of their families and their families, and reducing their property values. Installation of the proposed pipeline would unfairly lower the quality of life of these residents while offering them no countervailing benefit. Finally, all communities in the Commonwealth will be adversely impacted when the goals of the Massachusetts Global Warming Solutions Act are not met due to increased emissions from this proposed project's infrastructure and from the consumption of additional natural gas facilitated by this project. The New England Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative goals will be similarly thwarted. All of the Commonwealth's electricity ratepayers could be harmed by the so-called cost recovery mechanisms put in place to facilitate this project. Now, in the end, it says the town's motion to intervene should be granted. The town meets the standard for intervention under the Commission's regulations. As discussed above, it is directly affected by the proposed project, and no other individual or organization can adequately represent the town's unique interest in this proceeding. Further, intervention is in the public interest because the town is responsible for the protection of the health and safety of its residents. Accordingly, the town of Linfield respectfully requests that this commission grant this motion to intervene. So this was filed, they have acknowledged it, and as far as I know, we are now on the intervener list. Yes. I did look up some of the articles that came out after they filed their application with FERC. FERC came back with, in early December, came back with a mountain of questions for Kinder Morgan and Tennessee Pipeline. They had until the end of December to respond. A lot of this had to do with the proposed pathway of the pipeline through western Massachusetts. There's some significant problems with the path of the pipeline. There were 3 alternate routes. Kinder Morgan and Tennessee Gas turned down 2 of them, said they would like to keep the northern route available. FERC has come back and asked them to reconsider all the routes and what the impacts would be. evident, obviously this is not anywhere, shape or form gonna come to a conclusion in the near future. I've got articles going back into just a week or two ago where they're still waiting for Tennessee Pipeline to make a response to their mountain of questions that they came back with, and to reconsider. There was a pipeline that went along the southern part of Mass, and one that followed, I believe, the highways in the existing easement that was there. According to Tennessee Pipeline, they said they're interested in those because they had to go through many more communities to get to where they needed to go. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll certainly update the town as we hear from the FERC proceedings. It doesn't look like it's going to really get going for a couple more months, but as we get information, we'll update everybody at these meetings. Mrs. Campbell?
Before you speak, Mrs. Campbell, I have some information I want to share as well, and it may answer a question of yours. First, I wanted to thank our town administrator for doing such a great job and working on that intervenor filing. That's greatly appreciated. And we made the January 6th deadline. There is some new information out, and I'm going to be posting this on my Facebook account, that there's an update to the responses for the comments regarding the scoping process. There's also, I'm going to be posting an attachment regarding the methodology and the results of the tax revenue analysis, which is what Kinder Morgan is estimating that what they will be giving to each town. There's also a response to comments on the draft resource reports. There's some more information regarding the route changes and how they're going to deal with earthquake epicenters, meter stations, check stations, hazardous material releases, and scenic lands. There were some issues right here in Linfield regarding all of the above. As a matter of fact, there are some comments that I've highlighted on what I'll be posting regarding Linfield in specific. There's a letter from Kinder Morgan to FERC regarding landowner notification. A lot of the information that was on there was striked out for privileged reasons, but whatever is available, I'll be posting. So there's a lot of new information along with what Phil just mentioned out there. So it's something we all do need to keep an eye on as this continues to develop. This is going to be going right through our town, drinking supply and wetlands. It's something we really need to be paying attention to. Thank you.
Mrs. Campbell?
It was a very good letter. There would be two other points that I would keep in mind as you're dealing with FERC. One is that there has been no public hearing. I don't know if that's of any concern to them, but I guess Mr. Boudreau has Tennessee Gas Pipeline, or Kinder Morgan, have they agreed to come to a public hearing?
They agreed in the meeting they had at Spinelli's. They told Selectman Terranova and I that they would come.
Right. Nothing, huh? That doesn't surprise me, but I do want to point out that the thing at Spinelli's was called in the papers public hearings. Those were not public hearings. They're a little bit like a health fair to people that didn't go. You went to different tables, everybody was separated, no public questions were asked. So I would think that would be of interest if they had just cut out things out of the paper or whatever they said to the papers that it was a public hearing. Maybe they're trying to cover themselves by saying it was, and it wasn't. Also, if we could keep in mind as we deal with them as interveners that we're one of the communities in Massachusetts, the 17 top communities with the most leaks, and their contention that they need more gas to serve their customers while it's leaking out of old pipes for the last 25 years been being unrepaired, that might throw a monkey wrench into their contention that they need more service for the customers. And Mr. Boudreau, have we taught National Grid, is there anything new about them repairing the current leaks that we have in a?
No, I've sent 2 emails to their representative about the leaks that are supposed to be fixed within a certain time period, and I have not heard back from him.
Okay. And if they have to dig up a street, yuck, do they have to pay for the repair?
Yes.
Good. That's good news. Okay. And I also gave to all of the selectmen and Mr. Boudreau, there was an article in the Salem News, December 26th, 2015. Representative Lori Ehrlich of Marblehead has filed 2 bills, H, meaning House 28070 and House 28071, which addresses the need to fix the existing leaks in Massachusetts. Her office was very helpful today, and I would think Brad Jones hasn't signed on, Stephen Wong hasn't signed on. I asked about some of the others. So we may speak to our representatives in the House. I don't think there's a Senate bill filed yet, but they want to get only the grade 1 leaks, the most serious ones, have been addressed. This addresses leaks up to grade 3, and that National Grid should pay for the repair. And the other one incentivizes the repair and prohibits them from charging consumers. So I think they're of great interest to the public.
Great. Thank you.
Just, we shared the intervener document that we had with the Water District, and they prepared a similar one for their intervener status. And just, I saw today that the Supreme Judicial Court will be hearing a lawsuit from the Conservation Law Foundation where they're suing the state for not being able to meet its greenhouse gas emissions. And part of their lawsuit is based upon the fact that the state is relying upon additional pipelines as opposed to clean energy in the future. So that's going to get tied into that other lawsuit with the state. So.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate all the work you did on this, Jim. The next item we have tonight is the update on Union Hospital. I think I mentioned in the last meeting, I did meet with the president of North Shore Medical, and he had passed out, and I just made copies for the board members. That was what he had given us for a packet for the board, and it just gave a little description of what they're doing and what they're thinking. We had our discussion. The one interesting thing on this, and I know you can't see it, but there's a map in here of the hospitals in the North Shore area that Partners Healthcare has put out, and it doesn't include Union Hospital at all. It's a very telling map of what they have in mind for the future. So that was the things that stuck out better than anything in the whole packet. And they still insist that it does not have to do with money, which no one believes. So we'll keep going that. Now, again, on Thursday evening at the Lynn Memorial Auditorium, there will be a hearing on this very subject to talk about the closing of Lynn Union and how they're going to provide not only essential services but all services at their other surrounding hospitals. Salem's the closest. There's one up in Danvers. Some things go into Mass General. I would say if you're going to go to this, I do implore people to get, if you have time to get over this. It's 4 o'clock at the Lynn Memorial Auditorium, which is 3 City Hall Square in room 311 is where this meeting's going to go on. It's extremely important for the town of Lynnfield and the surrounding towns to show up at these meetings and express their need for not only emergency care services, but all other care services that are being provided over there now have to be provided in the same manner that they're providing them now. And after discussing it with their representatives, they still never ever gave me any indication on how they're gonna do that without keeping a medical facility like Lynn Union Hospital open, at least for trauma and emergency care. So they have that meeting on the 7th. And then the following meeting will be on the 12th at the Hawthorne Hotel in the ballroom at 18 Washington Square in Salem. That's going to be the, what's called the determination of need, which has to do with the Salem Hospital campus and the expansion they're doing up there to replace what they're taking away from Lynn Union. And that's a 3-year project, $300 million, and they claim that the construction time that's going to take to put that together is coincides with the time they claim they're going to leave Lynn Union Hospital open, which is still up in the air because once everyone knows their job is in jeopardy, they're going to start leaving, which they already have. There's already staff, and both their doctors and nursing staff have already gone elsewhere and started looking for other employment for the ones that they aren't going to keep on. So I have serious concerns on how long Lynn Union's going to be able to provide medical care, particularly for the town of Lynnfield. So if people can step up and try to make one of these meetings, I'd appreciate it. Mrs. Campbell.
Did you say it's the Department of Public Health that's
Yes.
having the hearing? I didn't know if you had said that, because I think that's a very, like you said, it is a very key meeting.
Yeah,
And people can park at St. Mary's. Right away. Don't tell someone, St. Mary's, I said so, but that's where people usually park.
Yeah, the Department of Public Health is the only state agency that really oversees this.
Right.
We've talked to other state agencies, but they're the ones that have the say on the licensing part of it. It's important that they know that the town of Lynnfield is unhappy with it and why we're unhappy with it. People have written letters. I have one here from Mary Stewart for the meeting on the 7th. And if you can't make the meeting, I would suggest you either email or write to Department of Health in Boston and tell them how unhappy that you are about this and how concerned you are for our health and welfare here in Lynnfield, particularly on any kind of emergency basis. All right? Next item, we have the resignation from the Historical Commission. I got a letter from Nan Hockenberry. I'll read it quickly for everyone. It says, I regretfully submit my resignation effective December 31st. My years as a member and chair of the commission have been enjoyable, fruitful, and challenging. Together we realized many goals, including the passing of the demolition delay bylaw and now the start of the inventory update. We actively participated in the 2014 Tricentennial celebration and presented the forgotten history of Camp Stanton Shula. We supported the Historical Society in their successful efforts to save the Reverend Joseph Motley House, the Center Farm, and we organized and now manage the Historic Center, enabling the Lynnfield Historical Society to house their collection of the town's precious documents and artifacts. The professional preservation of the old burying ground is complete, while West Cemetery and Old South Cemetery are in process, with only Willow and Forest Hill cemeteries await conservation. This commission has accomplished a lot, but there is much to do in the preservation of our historic landmarks. I will miss being part of your future achievements. Sincerely, Nan Hockenberry. Well, Nan, I want to thank you for all the time you've put in with the town. I know you were a staunch advocate for the Historical Commission, and I think I speak for everyone that we appreciate all the time and effort you've done and put in for the town.
I'd like to thank you, Nan, as well, for all of your hard efforts that you put in for the town with the Historical Commission. I know that you're always there, and you're always, last year we're working on the budget to help you do some restoration, and hopefully your predecessors will continue with your quest. Good luck, and thank you.
I'd like to agree with my fellow selectman. Nan has done a tremendous job, a great job of protecting and preserving the great history in the town of Lynnfield, especially the 2014, the celebration we had. I thought that was a wonderful event for the community of Lynnfield. I know she worked really hard on that and many years of working hard to preserve Lynnfield, so thank you, Nan. Really greatly appreciate it.
Right, thank you. Last item on the agenda is the delegation of town council to investigate the open meeting law complaint filed by Mr. Terranova. Do I have a motion to designate town council Tom Mullen to investigate this?
I'll make a motion to designate Town Council Tom Mullen to investigate and respond to the open meeting law complaint filed by Selectman Tom Terranova.
Since I made the complaint, I'll abstain from voting on this topic.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have the minutes from December 7th. Any comments, questions, changes?
Page 5, the paragraph resident at the book noted. In that paragraph, when he first started, he also said that he agreed with my comments with the, regarding the coverage time. But he just said he agreed with my comments without getting specific. If we could just add some language like that, I would be in agreement with what's here for minutes.
Okay. Chris, you also have the minutes?
Yes.
Take a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
I second.
All those in favor?
I'm gonna be attending the Mass Municipal Association meeting, so I'd like to have, authorization to vote for the town at the MMA meeting. And the way we do that is, I need this credential vote form executed.
We get done in advance, Tom, or
I'm sorry?
during the meeting?
Well, it's the 23rd, I think it's after that.
After. We got that came in on Friday, on Thursday rather, after the posting. They didn't give us a paperwork notice on it.
Normally, it's the chair that is authorized to vote on behalf of the town, so if Phil is planning on going, he would exercise it.
Yeah, my office is right next door. I was gonna go. I'm literally the next building over, so it's very easy for me to go to this.
Okay.
I had planned on going, so,
Okay.
okay, so I will attend that meeting.
Those of you who are planning to go, make sure you fill out the forms and come back, Bob, so we can get in there.
Okay.
You already have mine, Bob, right?
Yeah, did you get an email confirmation on that from them?
No, I haven't, not yet.
Okay.
Phil, may I ask a question? Could I ask, when would it be appropriate? Remember at the tax classification meeting, I wanted to address an overall look at the budget as you move forward with it. And you said that we'd be able to talk about it throughout all the budget meetings.
Yeah, what's the next budget discussion?
Right.
Yeah, police and fire.
So, could I bring up an overall comment about the proceedings on the budget at that time of the fire?
Yeah, and you can bring it up at the public comment next week, too, the next meeting,
The
too.
public comment?
Yeah, you'll have that also available to you, because it's not an agenda item, you can bring up a comment about it. But we're gonna take all the budgets one at a time, as we do every year.
Right, as we do
Yeah,
every
so
year.
there's not gonna be an overall look at it until we get that all nailed down at the end, which will be,
Right.
we're still a couple
But
months away.
I wanted to talk about it before you nail it down.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, we can talk about it next week at the public comment, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, any announcements or thank yous or anything? Anybody have? Anything, Chris?
This week.
Well, I just wanna wish everybody a happy new year. I hope everybody enjoyed their long weekend, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I have one thing to say. When I came in, I don't know if you understood what I was talking about, but Yankee Magazine, I got it a week ago, and there was an article in it about Kinder Morgan. And it was very interesting, it was.
Yeah, there's been a lot of articles about Kinder Morgan, in particular their financial strength.
People that subscribe to it.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah,
you know, buy the magazine too.
yeah, okay. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
Take a
you.
motion to adjourn?
I second.
All those in
So-
favor?
all right.
Aye.
Night, everybody.
Nice.